Right. Okay, so we have no apologies. The councillors are present. We have no declarations of interest.
Yeah,
What's that?
12.5 needs to move to closed session, please.
Right, okay, there's one of the items will need to go into the closed session because it involves issues which need to be discussed in confidential setting. We need to confirm and sign the minutes of the last meeting. Well, 3 meetings. We've got the 1st of November, the 6th of December and the 20th of December, which then will make us up to date.
Nancy and Donna, can you confirm initially each page?
Yeah, initially each page is signed
Sign the
in
last.
the last one.
There you go, Donna. Come on. There you go. And then
6th of December.
6th of December.
Are you happy for me to sign
Any
these?
problems with the 6th? No one come back to me? No. No. Yes, please.
Yeah, and look at the edge. Fine,
Just check she doesn't slide in a double-sided one.
Thank you, sir.
Alright, that's-
There's 3 pages at the front. Appendix don't need initial first.
Okay, these are the minutes of the 20th.
Yeah.
Anybody got any issues with those? Happy for me to sign it? Okay. Oh, I did later. Oh, whoops. Did Donald continue?
Date next to your signatures, please, Don.
And
They've done it so it's
oh, right,
readable.
okay.
Thank you.
Why wasn't it? I don't. Usually first.
Yeah, okay, right, but sorry, there is an error in the agenda here. There should now be the public forum session coming after this before we start on the policies, etc. So we now have maximum 15 minutes for the public session. If anybody wishes to speak, they need to raise their hands. Do I need to do that on?
No.
Okay, so if you wish to speak, please raise your hand.
Could I just kick off by asking the councillors to face the members of the public, please?
Not if we're going to be filmed.
No.
No, not unless your wife switches off that camera.
Certainly not.
Oh,
Well,
well,
that's it.
that's
then.
it
We're
then.
feeling like we are.
Okay, anything else?
Yes, I wrote a question at the last meeting and I sent it to you the same night about the process for the locum post of clerk. You got my questions. I actually sent it to you in part by email.
Yeah, and I answered it.
You haven't.
I answered it on an email.
You haven't.
Yeah, but you don't need to answer the question here. We can answer it in a further meeting.
Right, okay, I'll put it
Sorry,
in.
have you sent me an email or not?
I thought I had, yeah.
Well, you haven't, but your clerk is saying you don't have to answer it.
Not in a public session.
Not in a
no.
public session,
Okay.
no. Anyone else? At the back.
On the meeting at the 20th of December, the budget meeting, the budget that you voted to approve included expenditure line items that totaled just under £75,000, which is 30,000 more than you spent last year, £25,000 more than you plan to spend this year, and yet there was no discussion amongst you all at that budget meeting about why you've gone up by 25 or 30,000 pounds.
I can answer that.
Don't answer it, just minute.
No, as we're minute it, so we need to, well, will the response go in this minute, or will
Probably in the
we
next
address it in the next meeting?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, have you got sufficient note of that? It's a sort of variation on the variance, isn't it? Right, okay, anyone else?
Yes, I just have an observation really on your financial policy, your financial strategy. It seems to me, having looked at the account very briefly, that you're building up every year a surplus. Your expenditure is always less than your income. Now that's very unusual for a body holding public money. And I'd just like to hear why you are pursuing this policy. The alternatives are that you could take less public money for this parish, or you could alter the precept.
There was some discussion on this last time. Is that so?
Still some lights.
Yeah, I mean, it was, there was discussion connected with the streetlights, and now but the decision was made by the council that they would keep the precept as it was.
But that hasn't altered, that hasn't answered my question. Why are you following the strategy of building a surplus?
This was discussed in the last meeting. When we were discussing the budget, we did discuss why the surplus initially had been being built up, and the reason why two budgets were presented at the last meeting was with a view to possibly changing the precept for this year. COVID has also had a powerful impact on what can or can't be spent, both ways actually. And that, I say, there was a discussion around that. There will be further discussion when it comes to the annual parish meeting. We would take note of any further ways in which the budget may then be spent. We have also allocated, in the last meeting, we allocated some of that budget for particular areas of potential high spend. So, you know, a lot of those elements were addressed in the meeting of the 20th. Over there?
Yes, it is very similar, following on to the theme of that question about there's a very large surplus. So I had a look on the website and I couldn't find a copy of the parish plan for the village. Does the parish council have a plan? And if not, is it considering making a plan of where to spend and use the surplus to spend?
Can I just give it?
There's a very old one.
There is a very old one. It was broached to have a further parish plan some years ago. We held a parish meeting, public meeting, to put feelers out, I guess, for that, and there was no enthusiasm, no urge to do anything. Personally, I think a parish plan, would be a good idea, but we need to have people who are prepared to work on it. And there was nobody who was prepared to work on the parish plan. It isn't something that the councillors themselves would generate, it's something that's generated within the public. That might be something we'll come to in the annual parish meeting, maybe.
It needs to be community.
Chairman,
Yeah.
can I just make a comment on that? That there is a parish plan, and it is on the website.
But it is very old.
There is, but it's very old because I did it, so I know it's
Yeah,
there.
but it is very
It's
old,
still
that's the
there.
point. It still needs, I think it has to be community-led. We tried to put it out to the community. There was no response from the community to do it, and this isn't something councillors can do.
It's a big
So,
task.
at the back there.
It's a big task.
Can I just suggest you actually put out a request for volunteers again?
Might be, yeah, should we put that on for next time and decide what we
After
might do
May.
about it?
After May. There's so much to do before May. It could be done after May.
After the annual meeting? Would it not be an idea to do it before the annual meeting?
For
so we've got
May,
it to go
for
in?
May,
Yeah.
for May,
So
yeah.
if we look to do that for the May meeting, so that we can put out some sort of feelers beforehand, I think we'll have to think about that. And if we can put that on for a future meeting to actually consider how we might do it, and then if that can be then brought within the annual May meeting, then perhaps that's the time to start it.
We'll wait until May before we actually start producing a plan.
You can bring ideas together.
We can start bringing ideas through, not a problem at all.
Is it worth setting up a subcommittee or something?
It's not the council that leads.
Well, if you were wishing to set up a committee to do that, and then
I would have thought the council would actually.
well, the council would be involved, but the council don't lead it. It has to be community driven.
Your parish plan.
Sorry,
You don't lead on producing your parish plan.
Not usually.
not generally, no.
So how do you know what you're spending your money on if you've not got a plan?
There are ongoing expenses that a lot of it's sort of
It should be in the
established.
plan.
Well, no, because the parish plan is something much wider than just the parish council spending. The parish plan is a lot wider than that. Again, sir?
I'm not going to follow that question because the whole of the thing's about what the parish council should be doing. Again, fairly new to the whole business, looking at the minutes, reading the standing orders, the last meeting. I have a question, who runs the meeting and what is the role of the clerk in the meetings? Because there's some confusion for them just then where the clerk was saying what can and cannot be done and when it
Clerk
cannot be
keeps
done.
Clerk keeps us right on legal matters.
Not disagreeing with that, but who runs the meeting? Because it seems a lot,
I run the
it
meeting.
appears a lot of the time you're being told what to do.
The clerk is telling me what I can and cannot do in some cases. Yes, she keeps me right on the legals.
So the question is who actually runs the meetings?
I have actually answered that.
The Jeff.
Okay, any more questions? Okay, thank you. Okay, so ongoing matters arising from previous meetings and council business. There's a lot of policies to update. I think councillors are probably a little out-faced, but our clerk has been off sick since January. Just feels that way. Since July, and there's always a review of policies on a regular basis, and that has slipped. That wasn't done when we had the locum clerk from Rydell House. So, we're updating or adopting. The list of policies has been circulated to the councillors. 4.2, allotments.
Slow down.
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, slow down.
I thought I'd done it.
Yeah, I just need to read them out.
Oh, okay, right,
Please,
sorry.
Please.
Right,
So-
the list of policies is as follows.
Okay, so I sent out to you the standing orders, which is based on the now. They were updated in April 2022.
Yeah.
Any objection?
No. I'm looking through my list here.
Financial regulations were slightly updated then this year to include contracts. So that was just a slight amendment in there. The code of conduct was updated. Okay.
Yeah, there's no amendment, no, is there?
Co-option policy.
Well, that's as laid down, basically.
Yeah,
isn't
it's
it?
just basic as it is.
Yeah.
It's basic as it is, and just as it is, and basically gives you the option after, if there's no election, how you may wish to opt. Any objection? Terms of reference was for this employment staffing committee. Okay.
Yeah, no, we need to agree those because the staffing committee cannot.
No
vote until those
problems
are agreed.
without any of that. No. The complaints procedure, that one was updated based on now.
What date was it?
That was adjusted adopted in 2019, that one. Just basically you've got your suggested rules for public session, which will be laminated and placed out within every meeting. Yeah, you'll get a copy of this all through. Your reserves policy, this amends each year. Basically, it's highlighting streetlights at 10,000, sanitarity at 10,000, and the asset management at 10,000, moving into reserves. Then we have the statement of intent for training and development, whether it be in-house, outsourced for the clerk and councillors. And then we've got the vexatious policy that is slightly updated. Sorry? No. That's not really a policy, it's just a little bit. And then the vexation policy was just slightly updated with the freedom of information. It just outlined a little bit more in the appendix. Any problems with any of those? No.
That should get us
Okay.
basically up to date.
If you would just kindly pass those to Maggie, because she would like to have copies of it.
Lovely, yeah.
Right, okay. Allotments. Does that say subcommittee?
Oh, yes, please, please.
We've been looking at the allotments, and Donna has done a sterling job of going round and assessing what's happening in the allotments. Now we're hoping longer term that the clerk has found a piece of software that would really help us organise that, because the organisation of the allotments and indeed the cemetery, when we come on to that, has been problematic for some considerable time.
Yeah.
We need some way of getting the information. We struggled to find the information initially. We're trying to find the lists, and the list we eventually got then proved not to be the up-to-date one. This piece of software should resolve that problem. I don't know if anybody's familiar with it. It's called Scribe.
I watched it.
But yeah, you look at the video. Did you send the videos out to all councils? Yeah. And if you look at some of the examples they give, you think, well, yes, I can see how that could happen. I mean, at the moment, well, no, I'll talk about that when I get to the cemetery. So this should enable us, yes, to keep good records of who's on the allotments. That can then go on the website, so we're increasing our transparency, because we have discovered all manner of things that have not gone on the website that should have. And we have been working hard to try and resolve that. That's an ongoing process, I'm afraid. It's not in the state we'd like it to be yet, but we are beginning to move, and certainly the accounts section now is much more fulsome, and the AGARs are now on the website, and etc. But so, you know, yes, we need to make sure we're clear about who the current holders are, who's on the waiting list, whether they're resident or non-resident. I mean, we managed to find that information, but goodness me, it took us a bit of a struggle. And also, it will enable us to give to, within this same software package, you've got spreadsheets, so you've got all the basic data you need. And you also have a section which then gives you an ongoing commentary on the state of the allotment, but also in terms of any structures that are present, so we can effectively do a risk assessment, which we need to do.
So
It's no big deal. A risk assessment is no huge deal, but it needs to be done. And so, I mean, that at the moment, that is not the case. We don't have these risk assessments in place, and we need to amend that.
So like this risk assessment that's just been done for me, that can be uploaded
Yeah.
and becomes part of that software.
Okay, so that's allotments. Now, we suggested, say, Donna has done some sterling work on it, so we certainly would like, I would like Donna to go on the allotments subcommittee, certainly, but that would mean a group that meets, it wouldn't have to meet desperately frequently, but at the moment, yes, there will be a couple of meetings would need to happen. And then maybe every 2 or 3 months, depending on what the subcommittee felt appropriate. And that would be able to, bob up every now and then, maybe have a look at what is going on, get in touch with any allotment holders that we do have concerns about, perhaps the way their allotment's being kept, or whether they're encroaching on somebody else's area or a public area, which is the case in some cases. There are some elements that have encroached onto public areas, and we need to also make sure the paths are clear and safe.
Yeah.
So, who else would like to go on the allotment subcommittee? Right. How many do we want on there? No, I said who else. I told Donna she more or less told Donna she didn't have a choice, but no, you do obviously have a choice. And yeah, I'd quite like to go on that as well. Okay.
Yeah.
Streetlights. There are some, now you've got some correspondence from Nick from that. There seems to be a bit of confusion still.
Yeah, basically there is a small amount to change to LED. With the fact about warranty, there is no warranty on the streetlights at all now. There was a year from when they changed to LED, but there's nothing now.
I understood that was 10 years.
No, there's nothing.
It just had 10 years.
There's a year for the LED bulkheads and that is it. So it makes it more that the reserve is important if there's any work to do.
I mean, to a certain extent, I mean, some issues will be covered within the insurance. Or is that usually?
Wear and tear.
Yeah.
Wear and tear.
But I mean, okay, so, well, mind you, if somebody drove into it, it would be down to them anyway, wouldn't it?
Well, I was sure it was 10 years.
Well, I checked it out.
Yeah. I mean,
We were told 10 years.
We were told 10.
well, I must admit, I thought it was 2, but, yeah. Okay, so, do you know who originally was telling us 10? Anybody, any idea? Do you know when abouts that was said?
There's one of the emails from,
What, from Nick?
yeah, I think it was Nick. I don't know.
Well,
One of the
it's
emails
worth
that
tracking
came through
back
for
in
when
the
when we were
Have you done a
processing.
I've searched
search?
warranty and then I just,
Yeah.
the thing
Because you
is,
then got on and spoke to him directly, didn't
Yeah.
you?
rang me on the phone, yeah. He said, no, it's just a year on the LED
So
bulkheads.
if anybody ever finds anything where it's minuted down that is the
Yeah.
case, then I would be delighted to have it. But our information at the moment is that they're no longer on the
I've seen it
warranty.
somewhere, I wasn't even a councillor. Is it on the minutes? Going back?
It should be. I mean, I recall warranty being discussed. I didn't recall it being 10 years. I thought there was 2 years on
Because there were
warranty.
2 different prices.
10 rings about.
Yes.
There was 2 different prices on that.
Lord Dolby, parts have paid for the LED conversion. So really they still belong to Rydale at the minute until we're forced to adopt. There's no real point to adopt.
So we'll wait until that comes back to us. But I mean, that's one reason why we have some of the reserve, but we have far more reserve than we need for that, because there's about 10 along there, and so we're talking probably a
Have we
maximum.
finished that Westgate job?
No, they haven't finished that yet.
And what's the deal for that? About 20,000?
No,
It's probably going to be another 8.
6 and 8.
Yeah, 6 or 8
What about
thousand.
that electricity bill that's
Yeah.
what's backdated that we haven't paid?
Well, that's likely to
That's
be about
right, yeah.
6,000. But yeah, that needs to come through to us. But yeah, that's about another 6,000. We estimate. I mean, we don't know. We're estimating.
All right. It all adds up.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
It's 6 and a 10.
Well, absolutely. A 10 here, a 10 there. I mean, ultimately, if we do take on Low Dolby, that's going to be about another 10,000. But again, we've got, you know, that's why the reserve was initially built up.
Yeah.
Caretaker remit. Do you have the job description? Has that been circulated?
Yes. basically wanting to talk about contract and anything like detail like that, that's legal, that would have to go into closed session. Basically, I thought in this, we'd talk about just our meeting with him and what,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
basically what we
Yeah, we-
prioritise the work.
Yeah, we arranged to meet up with him because there was a debate about another, because the snippet, one of the snippets was brought up. And in conversation with him, I was getting quite confused as to information he seemed to have been told. Now, when we met with him, because we met with him at the Crescent to look at the two snippets, one of which was beautifully clear, and the other of which was not. And his understanding had been that he shouldn't, he didn't need to. He'd been told not to do anything on that, but it's a right of way. We have to keep it clear. So yes, he's now embarking on doing that. We've sent him a map showing where the two rights of way are, and also informing him how wide the access needs to be, because we need to ensure that path is clear for enough of it all the way down. That should keep him going for a bit.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, there's,
Definitely will on one of them.
yeah, I know. Well, absolutely. No, Carrie and I went down there. Well, yeah, we ploughed our way through down there. But yes, there's a lot of work to do. Yeah, it will. It will be cut right back. He's going to cut it back without bothering about the height at the moment, and later he will then come back and probably work on the height of it. But we want to get a go on that before we get too much greenery coming on. So obviously there's a bit of a priority in that. Yeah, it is. It's dreadful, and there's so much brambles and
There's
stuff.
another footpath further down.
The two together.
No, there's another one further down near the that one won't
Yeah.
be grading out.
Sorry, near where?
The one that
Going down onto
goes from Moulton
Moulton
Gate
Gate.
Yeah,
from Roxby to Moulton Gate.
yeah.
Isn't that where that one comes out?
But it's
Oh, no, it won't do. Will it? It'll come
Side
out
of
onto
the
Roxbury, won't
pinfold
it?
stand.
That's it. Side
Yes,
of
I know the one you mean, where the new
It's
post
very
has been put in.
overgrown.
Is it parish council one?
Yes.
Yes.
Because I've not found that in the record, so that's Linda needs
We'll
to
meet
investigate.
up there. I'll show you where it is, and we'll
Investigate
investigate that one, right?
Yeah.
So
Okay.
you can make a note of that
Yeah.
for us to
Okay.
do further investigation on. Do you want me to carry on to benches? Or, yeah, at the
it's
same
not-
time, we also discussed with him benches, because he brought to our attention a few benches that he was a bit concerned about, because there was some of the legs were beginning to rot off. And we talked about how he might, you've got a choice. You either take them out of commission, or you do some sort of repair to them so they can carry on. Now, in most of the cases we looked at, you're talking about one of the legs generally was showing signs of rot. Now, okay, if those are cut off at, you get a lump of timber, whatever that is, and the legs are cut off so that the height is still the same, so he creates a plinth in the same way as the plinth was created on those two benches outside, and does that on those. That should then get them back into service for the foreseeable period of time. Now, we were also looking at how we keep track of the benches, because as you know, we have in the past done a survey of benches, which seem to go on and on. Now, Carrie has identified 59. I thought there were more than that, in the region of 100, but at the moment we'll see how we go.
Donna was doing an extensive.
Yes, Donna has been, I think her shoe leather, we'll be getting a bill in for the shoe leather below to anything else. But yeah, Donna has also gone round and identified and listed all those benches. She has taken photographs of each of those. And again, if we do pick up on this scribe, that will give us the opportunity to get those. We feel we need to number them, and we would like to get hold of some discs to physically number each of those benches so that we can cross-link that with their position and their condition and risk assessment. Again, I'm on a bender on risk assessments here at the moment. And that the caretaker can then liaise with us, and he and we will all know which benches he's talking about and what state they're in, and whether any need to be removed and replaced, in which case we'll put the same number back on a new one if we replace it. If they're removed, we hold the number in abeyance, I guess.
Yeah.
Do we want a bench committee?
No.
Sorry,
Just have
sorry.
There's a bench at bottom of Castle Garth that was moved out of the park and put there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it is not on any foundations. Can we get it put right?
Will you identify it
Yeah.
on that
Yeah,
list?
if you can identify that one, we'll get.
Could I have a vote on that spend while you're there?
Right, yes, so we need to vote on spending to get the discs. That's the,
Yeah.
So we get some, we're talking about discs, about that sort of
Like
size?
dog discs.
Yeah, they're just sort of numbered discs, like that, but obviously a bit bigger than that. But I'm imagining they're going to be about sort of an inch across.
63.
It's number 63, that one, is it? Right, okay, fair enough. And yeah, so, well, that certainly is more than the 59. So how many benches do you think there are, Donna?
We think this. I thought it was 64, wasn't it?
Yeah.
64.
Okay, so we certainly need numbers up to 64.
Yeah.
Do we want to just go for 64 and believe we
Go
have?
for 70 and then
I think I have to get. I think I have to get. 100.
Yeah, 100,
It's
100 might make sense. So if we get 1 to 100,
Yeah.
then we'll do that, yeah.
Okay with that?
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
excellent.
Put bench somewhere.
Yeah.
And the idea, we'll need to think carefully about where we put them, because obviously we don't want to put them anywhere where anyone's going to catch them on their clothes and this sort of stuff.
Yeah.
So again, we have to think of health and safety and this sort of stuff. Okay, so we've asked him to do some running repairs on the 3 benches that he'd identified.
There was a few more as well.
Yeah, I think that will be an ongoing one. I mean, longer term, I mean, I thought we had got a running programme, but that seems to have fallen into abeyance, that a certain number of the benches need to be assessed on an annual basis. When these benches are numbered and listed, excuse me?
Sorry.
When these benches are numbered and listed and detailed, it will be easy for us to check on the maintenance, and we can say, okay, go and do 1 to 10 in this season. You'll report back to us on any that need additional stuff or any that are beyond repair.
Chair. This is another thing that Scribe will do for us.
Oh yes, well yes, I'd say along with the, I did mention it. I did say this software would do this and enable us to do this. It will also enable us, and he will be able to feed in as he's going as well. I would imagine we would give him access to be able to report back on there, so it will be a two-way process with the caretaker and with the council. Allotments?
Just while you're still on the care, it was just the only thing on the allotments for caretaker was that one hedge, wasn't it? Where the public access is, isn't it?
Yeah.
how many people are on the list waiting for a
We'll
lot?
do that being allotments, but we're just doing the bit of the caretaker.
Yeah, this is still sort of on the caretaker. We'll come back to the allotments
Yeah.
for a bit more of the allotments. Now, okay, we've informed him about, to check the taps at the allotment as well, because a couple of them seem to be leaking. We also want to get plot numbers properly for the allotments, because not all of them seem to have them.
No.
So we'll look into getting.
Numbers for that as well.
Sorry?
And they all need the same numbers for that.
Yes,
then.
we need to get some uniform format for the numbers for those. Those need to be larger, I would suggest, than the bench numbers.
Yeah.
The hedge at the road needs cutting back. Now, when we walked along there are some, there's an old wheelbarrow there, and there's actually a shed. That could be a little more interesting, because I think that's been there for a while.
20 odd years.
So they might have sitting tenancy on that one. But again, this business of keeping the pathway clear is something that I would hope, if we have the subcommittee running, that we'll be able to keep a tighter rein on that. When we can get the tenant, I think we asked the tenants to remove anything that's blocking that path. I think we might need to inform them that if we, if stuff is left there, it will be removed. If they haven't removed it by a certain date, but I mean, we can decide when we do that. And the other thing we asked him to look at was the cemetery, and well, obviously he's done some work on the cemetery. As you know, we got it back to condition it should be in. Interestingly, when I went there last, all of a sudden there's loads and loads of stuff that seems to have been put on, which we need to keep a clearer rein on. Well, I mean, there's the trees for a start off. Now, initially we were looking at getting a quote, but our caretaker informs us that he's actually could do those within his hours and on a gradual basis. So, I mean, the two that are in the worst condition would be tackled first, and longer term we might choose to replant with something that won't grow quite as big. But there are sort of 4 or 5 trees that need to come down in total, but the two that are in worst condition are the ones either side of the entrance gate. You know, the
One of
arch.
them's deteriorated.
Oh, they're both in really bad condition. And I mean, in terms of health and safety, we have a duty of care to ensure that they are appropriate, and at the moment they're clearly not. So we think he can use some of his hours to maintain those as he's going along, which we also talked about how he set his hours down. We'll probably come back to this later, but some of the elements, if they're cemetery related, that's an income stream. If it's allotment related, that's also, you know, if it's an expense on the allotment, there is an argument that the allotment should be paying that. Okay, we shouldn't be making a profit on the allotment, but equally neither should we be making a loss. So we might want to look at our pricing for the allotments again, and have a look at what happens in others. But I think actually looking at the expense line on that would be helpful. And I think it will also help us in further budget discussions in sort of subsequent years. If we've got the allotments and the cemetery fees are appropriately adjusted so that they are more or less paying their way, then yes, there's obviously going to be a lesser need for an overall precept. It will be the people who are using those areas that are paying for the service they're getting. The accessories, there's a time limit when a grave has been dug and the person has been interred. There is a limit set down is it set down as 3 weeks? I think there's a misprint because it seems to say 3 months, but
It needs a review.
we need to review the cemetery policy effectively, and we need to look at what those rules are, because what we don't want is a situation that could arise if the accessories are all left there, but the caretaker can't actually cut the grass. And then people will complain the grass is not being cut, and it goes on. And also, after accessories have been there for a certain period of time, if they're not contained within the headstone area, the cemetery rules, even as they stand, say they shouldn't be there. But there's a bit of leeway on that one. We also looked at the fence along by the bridge, the one that the car apparently went into, that was rebuilt and stuff. And to be perfectly honest, the whole of that fencing is in pretty poor nick. I think the only thing that's holding a lot of it up is the poles for the Christmas lights. I think that's something we might need to look to replace. Yeah, we'll have a look and just check the ownership of. But if this is something that's our responsibility, then I think we need to look to getting some quotes and replace it, because it certainly isn't fit for purpose. It's a bit precarious, I think, to say the least. Right, so that's the caretaker. The grass cutting contract we will be discussing in closed session. Are we, well, say it was stated as we need to put that into a closed session. Are all in favour of that in the case? Because otherwise we can't discuss it. Okay, thank you. Bullfield tenancy. Again, the same thing applies there in terms of
Basically, it's coming to an end in March,
Yeah.
so that needs to come up in the fourth meeting.
we'll be putting out tenders. I think will be a little clearer in how we how we ask for tenders, in that I think when it was put out before, there was no suggested figure. I think we need to be putting it out with a suggested figure.
How many allotment holders are wanting allotments, please?
We're coming on to allotments.
Yeah, we will
All
be
right.
coming on to allotments.
Discuss that
sorry.
after the bull
Yeah.
fight.
Oh,
After the
sorry.
bull fight.
Oh, where?
There is a reason
You
for
haven't
it.
put
All right,
allotments on there.
sorry.
We'll discuss it.
Yeah, we've done the allotments, yeah.
No, I
Yeah,
asked
sorry,
No,
so
no,
yeah, you
go
know, you
back.
did ask, no, we need to go back, you're absolutely
Sorry, go
right.
back for that,
Yeah,
then,
right,
sorry,
okay.
apologies,
Apologies for that.
apologies.
Right, so there are 40 allotments,
how many,
some of them are split in half. How many do we have on the waiting? Is it about 25?
Approximately 20,
Yeah.
but,
on the waiting list?
yes,
Thank you
but
very
some
much.
of them are non-resident,
And the
some of
residents always
them
take
already
priority.
have an allotment.
Mm.
So the amount that we're offering to first are people who are resident in the village and who have not originally got an allotment.
I mean, I think
I'll answer
historically,
that
there, yeah, I think
there's
historically there
about
was a,
6 that we're offering to first.
yeah.
One's just come back today who's got very small children and just doesn't want one quite yet. There's one very keen at the moment, so
That's all right.
Yeah.
I'll answer
Yeah,
that.
I mean, we,
I'll answer that
again,
question-
no,
I'll answer that
yeah,
question
sorry,
a bit
we,
further on.
apologies about that.
sorry, I'll answer
that question.
which question?
I think you're asking for sessions.
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. Liability and structures, what,
Basically, that's just general in all of them, is that
again, just
we
making
just
sure we
want
have
it once
risk
a year
assessments appropriately.
to do a risk assessment
Right.
of all our assets, just to check, do a check at some point, but that can be
Would we include that in,
in reviewing the contract renewal.
yeah,
Yeah, so basically, we need to go do a review for before the last month, and saying that we'll be putting out to tender again because the current tenant will want to re-tender probably.
oh, the matters,
Yeah, so I suggest Bullfield is an ongoing issue till March.
Okay, so we'll
Just
certainly
ongoing, really.
return to that one
Yeah,
again, but yeah, I think when we come to ask for retender, we will take note of, you know, what the appropriate figure would be to start with and, you know, say, right, this is the sort of level we're expecting, etc. Which might make it clear for people who are tendering in any case. Asset register, this was another interesting one that for years we keep saying, well, you know, what's on the asset register, come on, where is it? Now, if you look on, when I came to look and hunt for the asset register on the parish clerk's laptop, it was very difficult to find anything that made any sense. It was very thin. And then when we cross-checked that with the insurance and you see what we're insuring for, that also gave us confusion. I mean, perhaps you ought to feedback on the discussions you had with the insurers.
basically the War Memorial is, I went back to old records 2009 and it's the cross on the green. And it's basically a categorisation naming. It's fallen under War Memorial in the new insurance because it's similar and that's why it's called War Memorial. It isn't the War Memorial. So me and Donna have been building this asset register because all the benches, all the brick bins need to go on it. I am also in discussion with the external auditor of how to treat this because normally if they have been missed off and not put on as purchase value, they go on as nominal value as £1. So I'm still trying to find out how we're going to deal with this. But we will have a full
Well, I mean,
list.
to be fair, I mean, this asset register issue was something that came up in the time of the previous clerk, and we never managed to get it filled out properly. If you recall, Councillor Charles, we had considerable discussions about it, and we never got anything in any detail. And I think that's the one that's come through, and that's the way it's been left. So I think now Carrie has been constructing a much more comprehensive list of a register of our assets, and I think it will be a lot clearer all the way around. So I'm quite hopeful of that as well. And that presumably is something else that presumably would go on Scribe, should we have it. Not that we're pushing this in any way, shape or form, but it makes sense to get a piece of, if they've got a piece of software that enables us to identify and map out and show where these things are, be they benches, be they allotments, be they gravestones, be they other assets, then I think we should do it, because that can then go on the website, and so it's clear to everybody where they are, what they are, and what the council are or aren't doing about them, if they are or aren't. So, and I think there's a lot to be said for getting an appropriate software tool, which would certainly have saved me a lot of hassling around of trying to find what the search function I need to put in to get the information I wanted to get out of the computer, because I was, sometimes thinking, okay, well, I'll try putting it in a different way to see if I got anything sensible out that way. And I'm hopeful that we can, we've had a look at how that would go with the cemetery as well, which is on.
And all councillors have read access.
Yeah, and you would all have access to that.
To be.
And if you haven't looked at any of the videos first, I would strongly suggest you try and do so, because I was becoming quite fond of Nathan. He seemed like a nice boy. But right, and he was, and certainly yes, suddenly he's saying, right, you can do this, and you think, well, yes, obviously you want to be able to do it like that. It makes a really good, easy, simple way of doing it. And I think it's something that if we do get it, that we would then have a session, probably an additional meeting, just to demonstrate how the items are going on. And yes, the intention is for those elements then to be able to go on the website. Insurance, you've got anything else to say on the
Basically
insurance?
just that
There are some things that we thought were why on earth
the
are we
fences
insuring
I've
those?
taken
Yeah,
off.
the
Fences
fences.
I've taken off.
Seems nonsense.
And I've clarified with them what things are, basically. That's it.
Councillor vacancy, did I hear that there is to be,
We don't know yet, they
We
will
don't.
confirm on Friday.
but what you did learn was that it is actually for just the one seat. It isn't in fact for all councillors, which we were previously under the impression it was, so Lord, you just for, if there is if there are sufficient people calling for it, it will be just for the one seat. So whoever puts in for it, everybody will have one vote. So that's the council vacancy. Cemetery, again, as I say, at the moment I have in the corner of my room, I have 9 maps, do you think? Something like that. Some of them have the older copies as well. And when I get an inquiry in, when I've been getting an inquiry in from a funeral director, they very rarely have sufficient information to find the information straight away, so I generally have to look back in some of the burial books, and then there's this book, and then I check that book, and then I try and find it on the map, and if everything matches up, then I can give them the information, and if they're going into an existing grave, we're happy on that. We've had some issues of trying to find some historical e-logs. We've found further books that have given us additional information, so we've spent many happy hours playing on the cemetery, haven't we? Well, except no, we've got the playing on the cemetery to do yet, because we'll also need to do a physical check, because there are some of the plots where there is still not clarity as to who it is actually allocated to. So the clerk and I need to physically go on to the cemetery with our maps and with whoever else. Are we looking at a subcommittee?
No, with Scribe.
with Scribe. Well, apparently, yes, we can do this as we go along, so if we go out there with it, but we would still need to be taking the maps with us at that point, so that's going to be in and out of my car, I think. And just to finalise, to actually clarify and ensure that we have got people where we think they are. And, ashes where we think they are, and that all the people we think are there are notified, are annotated appropriately. But so we're kind of waiting for a nice sunny day for that, really, because don't much fancy spending hours trotting around. Although I have to say, the cemetery, once a lot of the things were tidied up, is a really pleasant, restful place to walk around. Street furniture.
I think we've done that.
Is that basic?
Yes, we've done that.
We've
Good.
done that.
Printer. Yes.
Just basic purchase.
Yeah, we purchased a printer for council use. Agenda?
I was just asked to put that in, that we have a list of future things to go on.
Yeah. Can I just add body bench discs go on some benches?
Oh,
Say-
yes.
Say that again
Yes.
to me.
Body bench
Plaque.
plaque,
Or
yeah.
notice, yeah. A notice, you know, in the same way as we've got plaques on some of the benches,
Yeah.
there would be a notice to say this is a bunny bench, you know, if you sit
If
on
I'm
this.
sat here.
Like planning, twinning.
No.
Say if you're sat on a bench, you're
If you're sat on that bench and somebody notices you're on that bench, they'll come and sit next to you.
Okay.
Buddy bench.
Okay.
So it's a familiar term.
Okay.
Now, Councillor Oxley was involved in the initial discussion of that, and he's got his hand up. Do we wish to
Councillors.
hear from Councillor Oxley?
Yeah.
Just to inform if I can, I'll happily send the clerk the sign that she was on the buddy bench in Bolton if she'd like that
Brilliant,
sending.
brilliant, thank you very much.
Well, I think that can be decided as part of that street furniture. We've got street furniture on the agenda. If you want to decide in there that you want to make one a buddy bench.
Well, no, this discussion has been had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Has it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And needs doing.
right, so yes, we need to get that one.
Needs to be done.
Yeah, so we need to get that,
Okay.
that notice, that label, that, neither of those terms are the right term.
No, right, okay.
Well, we need to clearly designate that bench as, this is the buddy bench, yeah. So I say it needs to be a bit larger than
Okay, okay.
Okay, councillor, individual roles and responsibilities. Oh, do you want outside reports? Have you got anything on outside reports? You said
Oh.
agenda, future and outside report.
Well, you could do correspondence in there.
Isn't there? No, correspondence is there.
Oh, sorry. No, there wasn't any outside
No,
reports.
okay.
I mean, we haven't invited any, to be
Okay.
honest.
Right, councillor individual roles and responsibilities. We've talked about the allotments. We want to do the same for the cemetery, don't we? For the subcommittee.
Yeah, to do we need to redo the rules for that.
Yeah. So, I mean, since I've spent so many hours embroiled in the cemetery, I think I'll probably need to go on that one. Anybody else fancy going? Right, so Councillor Charles, thank you.
Yeah, 'cause you might be quite
Yeah,
helpful
it
there.
could be quite handy. Councillor Holsworth?
Yes.
Right.
And me, is that all right?
Yeah, I think that's a, because you can go around with your scribe,
Yeah.
if we get it.
And the only other one, I'd like a council member to be in contact, to be allocated if needed to be. You know, like a person that some forms of communication are funneled through.
I'll be number two. I'll be number two.
It'll come clear as we talk about.
Yeah, well, I think it will, yeah, just bear that in mind when, I think it will become clear a little bit later.
Yeah.
Room set up, put down, well, the room was set out beautifully, came in
Yeah,
by
thank you,
councillors.
councillors.
I wish you'd get councillors about right.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
Unless, I mean, maybe we could maybe do with some counselling.
Yeah.
But, you know,
Sorry.
it's just, you know, one of those things.
Can't be perfect.
I'm sorry, I expect perfection. Right. Okay, so training. I mean, the paradox is you spelt it correctly, the data are in the same line. Sorry, this is an ongoing thing, I'm sorry about that. Right, Councillors, clerk, so this is training both for councillors and for the clerk, and the expectation of any new councillors as they come on, because there are certain ways that have to be worked within the council that people who are not in the council tend not to realise, and also limitations of the role of the councillor, certainly with regard to parish council, is often not fully understood. So it's just something that will come on a regular basis. It will come on each month, and yes, there is an expectation that councillors will undertake some training. Not saying any more on that one?
Basically,
Oh, you're
I would have liked to have done the YLCA Rob training if we're just do a bit more on the burials, since I've been thrown in the deep end on the cemetery. There's a couple of courses.
I mean, to be honest, it might help if both of us went on that realistically, because I mean, I've been kind of learning as I go along, but there's a course coming up in February. So we need council agreement for us to go to that.
Yeah.
So if you could show me a show of hands. That's unanimous. Thank you. And we'll look at the other lists later as we get them circulated. Grants. You're suggesting we separate them out of the
No, basically in the budget it looked like when I'd done the budget, I'd done it from the payments. There was a lot more there that were given in grants last year, and Councillor Markham kindly shared a letter from the Christmas tree.
Christmas tree lights.
The Christmas lights, not the Christmas tree. Yeah. I mean, it's a
If you'd like to read that, Chair.
Right, yeah. The Thornton Christmas Lights Committee wish to express gratitude and thanks to the Parish Council for the grant approved in April 2022 that has fulfilled its application objectives by replacing income lost during the COVID lockdowns to fund the restarting of the Christmas Lights switch-on event in December 2022 for the enjoyment of residents and the benefit of local businesses. The Christmas Lights display on the switch-on event is a 33-year tradition that benefits the whole community. The residents, the local primary school and the local businesses. Oh, there shouldn't have been full stop there. It is well attended by many residents and visitors, with more than 100 children queuing to receive a gift from Santa. Most businesses stay open during the evening to welcome the many visitors, with most reporting that takings on that day are their highest single-day takings of the year. Excuse me. I confirm that the full grant was spent and that grant was acknowledged and explained in the 2022 Hub newsletter that was circulated to every house in the village. Everyone is very grateful to the Parish Council for supporting the Christmas Lights switch-on event for the enjoyment and benefit of the community. Thank you. On behalf of all the volunteers of the Christmas Lights Committee, sorry, it just seemed to end rather suddenly. I thought there must be something more. And that's from David Andrews, Chair of the Thornton Christmas Lights Committee.
I think it's something downstairs. No, that's not. So there was a £3,000 there. You've also gave to the play park for the cutting of the grass. You also pay for the consumables of the DFIB. Now the clocks, the two clocks, one in the church and even though they don't belong to the parish council, they're given to the parish, of which the parish council have paid for service in the previous year. I need you to vote to see if you want to carry on paying as a parish council for the maintenance of these clocks.
Right, so this is Smiths of Derby who have serviced the clocks for some years. They say that I'm writing to book in the annual clock service of 2023. I have an engineer, Mike Tomlinson, in the area on Tuesday the 10th of January at 11:30 a.m.
Yeah, then I had to delay that because I didn't have a decision for payment.
Okay.
So.
Yeah. Otherwise he'd have been here this morning and we'd be thinking about agreeing or not for it. So do you have any?
I don't have a further date.
Right. Okay, so are we going to continue the arrangement to? Right, so
Resolve. Play park.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right. Okay.
Play park.
Play park. Are we
Continue,
happy to
yeah.
continue? We don't cut it all.
No.
We pay for some cuts. Yes.
How
So-
many cuts, councillors?
In previous years, it's been 2, I believe, but this last year we agreed to 4. I
It was
think.
more than 4.
No, it's 10 cuts.
More than 4.
No, it's cut more than 4 times, but the parish council don't pay
Yeah,
for all of them.
we paid for a lot more than 4.
Yeah, but that was, that's in hand.
I think we'll have to distribute.
Yeah, can we defer that one?
Yep. Ongoing? Yeah, go on.
We've got to look after it properly.
Yeah,
not
Dee?
just
Yeah.
part of it.
Review it, think about it for next meeting, because it's.
Yeah, I mean, also, it is a very clear village resource, and I think.
DFib,
Right, yeah,
I'm a bit confused about the DFIB. Is that the one in the centre?
I
Yeah.
honestly don't know.
yeah, it's on the,
In the
Well,
back.
yeah.
in the village green. And yeah, the traders,
Right.
we assisted the traders with some of that install, didn't we?
Yes.
And there are ongoing, some things need to be replaced on an ongoing basis, and yeah, I would propose that we continue to do that. All in favour? Right, okay. Well, absolutely, and it's too late to make the decision then.
Can I just ask a question for that, Chair? Is there only one DFib in the village?
No.
No.
No, there's one at the village hall, apparently.
Okay.
There's one at the sports field, but you can't access it.
Oh, right, over there. Is it in the pavilion?
Yeah.
Right,
There's
okay.
one
But the one in the village green is the
This is
one
what
that
we're
we
doing.
do,
This is the one
isn't
we,
it?
yeah.
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 Can I just have out of interest, do you know how old it is?
2008.
4 or 5 years, something like
It
that?
went in that, so you've got your last lot of councils, it went in before then?
6.
So 4, 6.
What, so was it in before
That's
you
what
were,
right is at least. Yes, you didn't.
it was in when you were a councillor?
Excuse
Yeah,
me, Chair.
6 years.
Excuse me, Chair. Can we ask the councillors, can we, the lady in the community, obviously knows a lot about it, please can we just get some information from her?
Yeah.
Who are we going from? Where are we going?
Denise.
Oh, right. Right, okay, are we happy to hear from, right,
Yeah.
yes.
It was the Scarecrow Trail and the Parish Council that put the money together, and was that the Parish Council then look after it. It was done 6 years ago.
Yeah, I thought it was that sort of
6
region,
years
yeah.
ago. So it was discussed and obviously approved that the Parish Council would look after it, but the actual Scarecrow Trail paid half towards it.
Can I just ask, what was its life expectancy? It's just that there's a lot of grants going around at the moment.
It
because it's
should be all right as long as it's serviced. It's fine because my husband and myself we pay for the one at the village hall, and as long as it's regular, if it's regularly
Is it on a
serviced-
maintenance contract, please?
No, it should be done yearly, but it's up to you to basically do it. The pads will have to be replaced every other, but they like to service it.
Can I ask who it's through, please?
I can't remember. I can get it to you.
Yes, yes,
It's
if you
just
could,
that there's a
that'd be
few. Do you remember,
Is it the same
Donna?
one as the village hall?
It's the same one as the village hall.
Yeah, I'll get that to you.
It's just that
Yeah.
your Donna has it then,
Yeah.
because it's just exactly the same people that we did with the one in there.
I'm just aware there is some problems with some DFIBs on some schemes, and they're actually saying it's actually cheaper to go to a new scheme.
Yeah,
Then
it
it
is. It's if they've not been maintained and it's the pads. If the pads are not up to, then they go, and then
That's the only
there's no
reason
point
I'm
having
thinking.
it. Yeah, but it should. The pads need to be. Someone actually should check it. Really, I don't know when it was last checked because it was given over to the parish council, so I don't know. But if it's maintained, it should last. It's only 6 years
So
old.
is it supposed to be our asset?
It is for you to do, yeah.
Yes, it should be on the asset register, yeah.
We're picking up a lot that's never been done, aren't we?
Yeah.
I'd be very
Absolutely.
grateful
Yeah,
of any
absolutely.
information.
Donna will have the address.
Any information.
Not the time to discuss it.
Yeah.
No, we
Yeah,
haven't.
no, I take your point.
Yeah.
You've
Okay.
had no argument with us.
All right then. Okay. Thank you.
Right, yeah, so I think, well, in terms of the DFIB, I think we should put that on for a future meeting, because I think we need a more
Yeah.
in-depth discussion on it.
Yeah.
You're going to say got new batteries on it last year.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think we need to check that we've got, it has been routinely maintained, and we need to take that on, I think, properly. And,
It was John Garvin brought that in, got new batteries for it.
yeah.
Thank you. I will put it on as an ongoing issue, so we've got to the bottom of this.
Right, anything else on the grants?
Just, there were small ones and obviously the councillor opened.
Yeah, I mean, at the moment, we've got that. I mean, I certainly would suggest we keep that there, but I think we need to publicise it a bit better and try and
Get it out, get some more.
get more people actually putting in and saying, right, you know, how about this? Because I mean, each of them will be considered on its merits. What do we? Yeah, I mean, we set a figure in the previous years as a maximum, but it's never got close to it. I don't mean in terms of maximum for each one, but I mean in terms of the maximum amount allocated within the budget. But I think there needs to be additional publicity in some way. We need to put it out on some newsletters, I think, and certainly on the website. Perhaps now the website's beginning
getting
to
there.
get there. Yeah. Meeting venue.
I'm waiting to hear back.
Okay, so we're still waiting.
Ongoing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Annual order. Do we need to do that in the closed session as well?
No.
Right. Okay.
Well, if you want to see it stay in place.
I would like to vote, I propose we lift the ban in order. Anybody going to say?
Well, shouldn't there be some? I mean, my only concern is the impact that we need to plan. This is where we come back to the item that was mentioned earlier about what did it come under?
It was just about a member contact.
Yeah, member contacts. Because one of the issue that arose was the sheer volume and variety of things that were coming in, that it was such that it was taking up so much of the clerk's time, it just wasn't possible for
Well,
it to
if the
track.
clerk won't answer a question,
No,
if she gets
yeah,
the question
no,
and
this-
doesn't answer, she still won't answer it. It's no wonder she's getting buried in paper.
that isn't what was happening, but I mean, that, you know, to a certain extent, some of that might have been the case, yes, I don't dispute. But I think, I mean, perhaps,
I think we should have a vote.
yeah, I mean, I can see, I absolutely can see reasons for lifting the banning order. My only reservation would be, can we do it with a, who's got something going? That at least for the first 6 months, that somebody has any input channeled through them and they bring any concerns there are appropriately to the meeting, rather than just letting it come through, because those can be channeled and put into particular questions. Not sure if that makes sense to you.
If you can just look at what we've achieved in the last 4 weeks, we need to keep moving forward, and we're not going to get to the end.
I think we would move forward if we just lift it completely, personally. I do, because
Well, should we perhaps then review it next month? And if there's an issue, come back to it then?
Lift it and review.
Yeah, lift it and review it.
yes, if that's right.
Yeah.
I don't
Okay.
quite get the name, but yeah. I would like to lift the ban. I would propose we lift it completely, but we do need to look at it in future if anything happens. Not necessarily
Okay,
that
so
individual.
you're proposing, you were seconding, yes? All in favour?
Yes. Yeah.
Right, okay. And yeah, we'll put it on next month just to. 5.
Just give us 1 second.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah.
Discuss matters raised since last meeting? What? Sorry, Clive. I have to confess, I'm not quite sure what you're meaning by that. If you could perhaps be a little more precise.
It's basically there.
So if there's anything we haven't discussed in the previous lot that we need to.
Councillors have got come to them.
Okay, so
Since
right,
last
has anybody
meeting.
have any of the councillors
From the
had
last
anything
meeting.
come to them?
That they've not managed to
Needs
get
to
on the
come through to
agenda.
council.
Sent to you, didn't I?
Yeah.
Okay, right, thank you. We haven't had new planning applications as far as we're aware. I don't know what's happening to them, but there seems to be a complete paucity of planning at the moment. Yeah. Right, discuss matters raised by the clerk, the locum clerk at the moment. So, do you want me to hand over to you at this point? Right, go on then.
The balance at the back is basically as it was basically at the last meeting because of Christmas. Okay. With some payments to approve in a second. The bank mandate has gone off with Donna and Nancy on. Have you had any correspondence?
Yeah, I just went to the bank yesterday and
We've missed a piece of information on the form, but even the bank lady had missed a piece of information. But it's gone off now.
I'll go back in with some, I took everything in and it's not good enough. So,
mind you, the first time you
where
went
it is,
in, the young lad didn't know.
No.
He did disclaimed all knowledge
But
of it.
if you tie it with you, I will go back in with some.
You just wait to Helen to...
Right, I'll get the passport and I'll take that in as well. As long as I'm going for no one.
I'll do Tom.
So in theory now yours should be...
It's gone off.
It's gone off, so you're now waiting for the pin and card.
Yeah.
Right, okay. Excellent. If you could just let me know soon, because obviously until that happens, I cannot take the other.
Yeah, we haven't had it.
The councillor off. Because otherwise I can't access the bank account.
Yeah.
And nobody can get paid, which doesn't really seem fair.
Payments to approve is the Ortella payroll software. So at the end, you'll see all the invoices, be able to see them, sign them off. You've got your previous clerk's pay, sick pay. You've got your, now because she's on a contract of employment, so I'm going, that has been paid, but it's for you to see that it's been paid. You've got your caretaker that is on an ongoing contract, so that was paid because of the date of the month.
No grass cutting is one thing.
No, sorry, caretaker. You've got that one that you're going to talk about in closed session. Okay. We've got the repayment of me for the printer. Now, trough at Valeview High Street.
That's business doing at water, isn't it?
Yeah, that one doesn't being paid.
Right, okay.
Okay. A trough for Valeview High Street.
Wait a draft.
Sorry?
What do you ask, draft?
Castle Drop? It isn't the allotment.
This is trough.
Where's Valeview High Street?
I don't know. Maybe you can know.
No.
You paid it in the past.
When was last payment?
June to September that is.
Yeah, so that would have been...
It would be May
That's
time.
a quarterly thing.
It isn't allotment law.
Is it allotment water?
No, that's the other bill that's just been paid.
Cemetery.
Well, that again would be Peaceland, wouldn't it?
Yeah, but I can blame.
So we
Yeah.
White Blade.
Yeah, sorry, if you do need to talk, you'll need to leave.
I'll query that,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we need
Clear
to
it
find
back
out
to
where
the
that
website.
is. Yeah, so we won't pay that.
And then the theme. Oh, right, yeah, right. The theme that's run through is that to get this council moving forward, increase its transparency, increase its flow, improve its ability to budget and everything else. I'd love to see you go to Scribe. It would help you do the allotments, help you do the cemetery. It would help you do the accounts. It would get it opened up to your councillors. So, and your assets, the assets will be on there.
And the benches.
Which are the
Well, I know
benches?
they- yeah, but-
Yeah.
It needs
But I mean,
everything on,
the
but can't get
benches
lost.
require all this.
Exactly.
The asset
And-
register is one thing, but the benches and the
And it
maintenance.
means that,
Yeah, but just one to everything.
and then it means that if, as your clerks move on, it's a standard software that clerks know. So,
I mean, in theory, a clerk should be able to come in and pick up and find out where things are. We've had to struggle an awful lot more than that.
so basically it's to vote on, can we vote on that now?
Do we have a price for it?
There you go.
For a yearly cost, is it?
Yes, it is. There's initial setup and then a yearly cost about. That's the initial set
That's
Oh,
the
yeah,
yearly
setups
cost, about
there.
£1,000, and then there's £500 for your setups. So it's about £1,000 a year.
Right, so we opt into certain, if we opt in for the accounts, that costs us a certain amount, we opt in for
That's the amount.
cemetery, we opt in for the
That
allotment.
was
So
all
each
on
of
the
those
email.
add on there and they're useful, and these are the setup fees. And so there's your total bit in there.
And that was all on your email that you had with your videos.
Why don't you tell us how much it is?
And then the only other thing is the Office 365 needs renewing. Well, you're going to have to decide that in closed session, aren't you?
Oh, right, okay, fair enough. Okay. Thought you'd forgotten.
Yeah.
Right, so renewal of Office 365, going for the family one.
It just gives you the amount
Anybody
of
want to
OneDrive
see that?
storage.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Okay. So.
Do a
We
vote on
need to take a vote on
Scribe.
Scribe. So I propose we pick this up for Council and Clerk. Donna, will second, all in favour?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Right, okay. And Office 365, sorry, Office,
Yeah.
yeah, Office 365 as
Which allows you OneDrive storage.
a renewal. OneDrive storage unit.
It's the OneDrive on
Oh, right,
in the cloud.
OneDrive, right, okay,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay, yeah, I propose we continue that. Yeah?
Yeah.
All in favour?
I don't use it. but
Okay.
yeah.
But no, but the clerk needs to use it, basically.
There's a lot of things you can use and it doesn't cost you.
Where else here? There's not a lot there. You've got some correspondence to deal with closed, haven't you?
Yes.
The other thing that we need to sort is the internal auditor.
Yes.
I would highly recommend it carrying on with your previous one for this year. To keep you on, to really get this strategic right, to get us back to the end of this year. And then once we've got to the end,
I think.
then in May we can look at
Yeah, I
putting
think-
it out for tender for some.
Yeah, say this financial year, yes, finish with that one, but then I think we
Look
need
at
to look
going out to
carefully,
tender.
because in terms of what the internal auditor needs to do, there have been some deficiencies there as well.
Yes.
Which I think we need to remedy, because things haven't been picked up on that should have been, and it was a very narrow remit, so I think we need to widen the remit as well. So we will be looking to get some
Quotes in for next time.
for next time, for next meeting?
No,
For next financial year. So
we
we've
want
been
her to
putting out, asking people to tender for starting from next,
financial year. Yeah.
so April.
Yeah.
Right.
So am I okay to approach the same auditor to finish us off?
Yeah.
Yes.
Finish it off. Don't know. Website.
Oh, please look at the accounts page. It's
Yes,
so
the accounts
pretty.
page now. Now, okay, there were some parts of the website that worked, but not very many. And Carrie has been trying to get more in, and yes, if you now look at if you go into the Parish Council website, you will see you now have access to AGARs back to
2006.
2006.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
I was looking at it before.
So yeah, I mean, finding those was also slightly more complex than perhaps should have been. Now in future we would expect those to go up as a matter of course. They should have been going up as a matter of course. I have been given to understand they were. There are various other things that it makes sense to have on the website. That website has been working a bit clunkily, I think is fair enough. And I think that's something we need to keep an eye on really, because if it isn't, effectively it's ended up causing us problems that we could have done without. And if we can't resolve those in the next few months, then I think we might need to think about using a different provider. Because we can't afford to carry on wasting money in the way that it has been wasted. It makes no sense. So, I mean, that's something I think to come back. We'll see how far we get along for the next meeting, so we'll come back to that in the next meeting. And if you could all try and get on at some point, just have a look at the website and see, you know, if you can find some of the. Yeah, well, we thought we'd employ some fairies on the parish council. I think it's always good. Every parish council should have fairies.
Chair, I have made it a parish council page now. It is just parish council data on there,
Yeah.
so that people go in and see parish council data.
Mm.
Okay, so it's clear and transparent to the parish council.
I mean, this is what we asked Carrie to do, and we made that budget allocation for her. So, and that is ongoing, but you know, it's a work in progress. But please take a look every now and then and see what the website fairies have done. And also, if there's items that haven't been amended that you think maybe have been missed, then, you know, again, please let us know. But it is ongoing. We have somebody who wishes to input from the floor. Do we wish to?
We've got to all vote.
Well, we need to vote. Will all those in favour of hearing from? Okay, yeah.
Just to point out while you're doing it, that all the agendas for last year's meetings have vanished.
Yeah, we only need the current agenda on, the minutes are on.
So once the agenda, so once the meeting's taken place, it's then the minutes that are a record of what the items were on the agenda.
The confirmed minutes replace the agenda.
Okay. Anything more on publication requirements?
All these policies that you
The
adapted
policies
today will
on.
go up.
Yeah.
The assets will go up as soon as I can get them. Me and Donna can get them together.
Right. New correspondence?
Oh, the only thing.
Oh, yes. Stock clearance. A wall-mounted storm guard notice board. It's right. They're having a sale on. Okay, the notice boards are all apparently brand new. Did you find out whether there was a cover?
When I look at the website and on the picture, they do have covers on. The
Right.
thing
So
is,
if I pass that round for you just to have a look. and
something
see
to have a
whether-
look at in the future. Somewhere in the village, they want a notice board or they want to replace a
Or
notice
even
board.
if we want, I mean, I don't know whether we must need to look at the dimensions, I guess. Are they all the same dimensions?
No, it's both
Right,
made
so we'll
for.
see what sort of size we want, because I mean, we talked on and off about, I mean, that notice board there, I have to say, in wet weather was quite difficult to get in, to get the stuff in. And it's also quite small. So,
Can you get a bigger one on?
well, that's what I was
for
just
pillar?
thinking, I want to go out and have a
For
look.
the pillar, you say?
Sorry, say again?
For the width of the pillar.
Yeah, I think we might need to look at, they might have different dimensions on them. Can we take an input from the floor, people, councillors? Somebody wishes to add something on the notice board thing? Yeah, so all in favour? Yeah, okay.
There is a very nice notice board up in Dolby that was paid for at great expense. It's never used. Why don't you bring that down?
But whose is it?
Ours, the parish. Dolby is part of this parish.
Yeah, but who
Where-
put it
whereabouts
there?
in
The
Dolby?
parish council put it there
Whereabouts in Dolby?
on the by the barns, by the bike shop.
I can't remember that. You see.
What, so if you go,
If you go into Dolby into the village, it is there as you walk towards the.
what, so the bike shops are down there, are we
No,
talking
it's
about on
just
that road
before you
there?
get
So is
to
it
the
this
bike-
one up?
It's on the wall just before you get to the bike shop.
What about notice board we were meant to be having up here?
Well, yeah, that's right. I mean, that's sort of where I
Thought
started
money was gone
thinking.
for it.
When I saw this on here, I mentioned it to Carrie and said, well, you know, I wonder whether we shouldn't be thinking about replacing that. But we will need to look at the dimensions.
It's all different sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think we can take some measurements of that pillar and see whether there will be an appropriate one, because it would be nice to get a
I thought
slightly
there was
larger
one that already going to go outside New Inn.
That's
That's a whole.
in abeyance at the moment. That's a different one, unless, you know, I don't know, unless they want to.
Right, those I was over near the car park.
Well, there is still the one there. Yeah, that one's still there. I mean, that is used.
I thought that was given to the hub.
It was passed over to the hub,
Yeah.
yes.
Right.
But that is used, because I mean, it was there and it wasn't being used for anything else, and it made sense to hand that over for the hub tiers. Okay. There's another insert here. All in favour of hearing from Natalie? Sorry, Denise. Okay, yes.
The notice board outside the new inn, the parish council paid for the planning permission for it.
Yes.
And the spin ride group raised the money of 1,700.
This is an ongoing one, but that's with the hub. I mean, yes, we paid for the planning commission, but that was it.
Yeah, but the money was allocated to the hub for it.
Yeah, there's apparently the money has gone back to Redhill District.
No, that was the extra bit for the grants. They also got.
Yeah, no. Can I just stop us there, because there was a long ongoing conversation, discussion, debate on that, and I don't think this is the place for that. It is to be addressed within the hub. There were, I think with changes that took place. But yes, the parish council paid for the planning commission, but that is as far as our involvement was.
But then should the parish council ask for the money back then for the planning permission then, because that's taxpayers' money, if it's not going to be done.
You won't get the money back.
You won't get that back.
It's a non-returnable fee.
Yeah, I think it's a non-return.
No, I mean from the
She's
hub.
saying from the hub. But circumstances within the hub were such that, it's happened. I think that's something we might...
Chair, if we've given money for a grant for a certain reason and they've spent it on that reason, they've spent it on what they asked
it was spent
for.
on the planning application. That was it. That was what we were asked to give money for. Now the fact that it didn't then happen as it was intended it would happen is beyond the scope of our granting of the grant. Sorry, what do Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it was minuted in, was it, November's meeting, that it received a grant from Ryedale District Council towards the notice board for RDC. As they don't have the volunteers to do this at present, and there are other notice boards available in the village, if a member of the public or someone else would like to take this forward and do a notice board, they can, but would need to apply for funding, as no funding is ring-fenced or restricted for the notice board in the hub's accounts.
Excuse me.
So that is that is the information as we are
Well,
going to
that's a
understand
damn
it.
lie, and it shouldn't be put on because it's a lie, because it was ring-fenced, and I do have all the emails and all the letters.
Stop. Please stop.
Standing on to read, standing on to.
No person shall, can I just, no person shall obstruct the transaction of business at a meeting or behave offensively or improperly. If the standing order is ignored, the chair of the meeting shall request such person to moderate or improve their conduct. We need to stop this conversation now. Thank you. Okay, just lost the agenda. Oh, there it is. Right, so I'll measure up, I think, now to think about that one. That was it for right, so any matters raised by members for inclusion on future
You just said
agendas,
buddy benches.
We've got the buddy benches, we've got a couple of other things come up from there. We need to confirm the date of future meetings. Now, we were talking about possibly the 8th or the 15th, I believe.
You're going to check availability?
I will check availability of this room. I'll go for the 8th if I can get it. Yes?
Yeah.
If not, I will go for the 15th.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, we're now going to be going into a closed session. So, thank you very much.
See you.